introduce our panelists here. You can come over and have a seat. Mr. Bob McKnight here, as you saw in the film. That's my chair, Bob. Please get over there. Yeah. We've got the shots all set up and everything. You'd mess with the cameras and the director would get all mad at me. Mr. Bob McKnight here. Bob McKnight co-founded Quicksilver in 1976 and served as a longtime CEO and chairman, leading the company through decades of global growth. Under his leadership, Quicksilver became synonymous with surfwear and reached $2.5 billion in revenue, launching the popular Roxy brand and expanding to over 100 countries. He now continues to advise Quicksilver's parent, Boardriders Inc., as a consultant and ambassador. We also have PT, Peter Townsend, not the windmill rock and roller, but he's a rock and roller in his own right. Busting down the door many years ago, PT made history as the first ever IPS ASP World Surfing Champion, now known as the World Surf League. In 1976, he provided key leadership at Surfing Magazine, as you saw with his interviews in the film, serving as associate publisher, and today PT plays a role in leadership and advocacy for the Olympic surfing, particularly in supporting the USA Surfing as a national governing body overseeing the sport's inclusion in the Olympics. Surfing competition will be held in Orange County as part of the 2028 Summer Olympics, and he shines as a global ambassador for surfing. Let's hear it for these gentlemen. Thanks a lot for coming and joining us to participate in this Q&A. Film Festival celebrating 50 years. It's great to have luminaries such as yourselves here in Oceanside. Some of us might argue that Oceanside's kind of like a mini OC. It's got its little spot in the limelight of skateboard and surfboard building, not quite as global as the amazing apparel industry. So I just want to ask a few different questions. Bob, I mean, in those early days, you know, you're talking about your living room or the garage. I know it evolved into so much more, but in the beginning, you know, when you were looking at, it was shorts and t-shirts mostly, right? Were you looking at the fabrics? Were you really as far as performance and things like that? Or just, let's get some style, let's try to move some product, get our friends wearing this stuff and see where we can go?
Sort of. I mean, when we started, we had no idea. I mean, we were
just like Walter said.
Just like every, yeah. Oh my God, that was the most amazing meeting ever in my whole life, I'll tell you. Every time I see him, I start crying a little bit because he was real helpful to us and a mentor of mine for the whole time. But anyway, I made the mistake or the wonderful thing of going to Bali in 1971 when there was like nobody down there and it was just my ideal place in the world. And on that trip, I just discovered like happiness with warm water and beautiful waves and beautiful girls and all this stuff down there. And when I got home, I decided I want to go back there right away. So I did. And the next trip, I met a guy by the name of Jeff Hackman, who's very one of the best surfers of all time, Mr. Sunset. He and I became really close friends. The same trip, I met a girl by the name of Annette, and she became my wife. She's still my wife for 46 years. So that trip to me changed my whole trajectory in life. For me, I was at USC, the business school, and I wanted to go in the movie making business. And that's why I was down in Bali. I was filming people and making surf movies. So I started with that, and then Jeff somehow connivaled me in Hawaii and got in my head about this product coming out of Torquay, Australia called Quicksilver. And he talked me into like, you know, if I can get the rights to do this, will you do it with me? Because you just graduated from the School of Business at USC. You must know everything there is to know about business. I'm going, all right. And he goes, I'm a surfer. Everybody knows me, so we could be a great combo. Let's do this. I'm going, all right, whatever. So he goes down to Bells Beach, wins the contest, the Bells Beach contest, which is coming up, by the way. And he convinces the original founder, Alan Green, over a lot of cocktails and whatever, to give Jeff Hackman, who had no clue about anything to do with apparel or board shorts or anything, the rights to Quicksilver in America and Mexico. So Jeff comes back, and then we go, okay, well, how do we do that? And we had no idea. So we thought that Alan Green could just, my idea was just Alan Green's going to ship us a bunch of board charts. We're going to go up and down the coast and sell them, and then I'm going to pay him back, and I'm going to go to graduate school and in the cinema school. And so we waited for days and days because Greeny's his nickname, but Greeny said, I'll send you a whole package of how to do Quicksilver and everything else because I can't build the shorts for you. You got to get them built there. But I'll send you a package with everything you need to know about making Quicksilver board charts. We wait, and finally this package arrives, and it's got one little piece of fabric, like about this big. It's got one snap. It's got a piece of Velcro and one of the labels and a little note that says, good luck to you, boys. Here you go.
Wow.
So we were tricked into making them. And incidentally, we got them all made down here at a place called Summer Girl by Sandy. I'm not sure if they're still around, but it was down here in Oceanside. And so Jeff and I, every day we wake up and we start learning about fabric and learning about snaps and Velcro and how to make the logos and how to build them. And I learned how to sew myself because we were getting ripped off by the seamstresses who were telling us this and telling us that. I learned how to cut the fabric. So we made it up as we went along, and after about a month, we had like 24 pairs of board shorts, and we got on the road. And the first place we went was to Hobie in Dana Point, and they bought every single pair, and they had a sign up on the front of the thing, because we went up and down the coast and nurtured it a little bit, but they put up a sign that said, Quicksilver coming soon. And we put the shorts in there. The guy ran out with the ladder, put up the sign that says, they're here. And they were sold out in like 10 minutes kind of deal. So that was what we did. We made the board shorts. We went up and down the coast. We sold them out of the back of my car, and it's a great American story, but we just cobbled away, and it was never, ever, ever meant to be what it became.
It's
never.
Yeah. That's incredible because so many of the stories of companies start with that, well, I wanted to surf, so what could I do to make money so I could surf? PT, you were a world-class surfer.
He's our first team rider.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
I was in the very first Quicksilver ad in America. But I also was related to Quicksilver Australia too. I knew Greeny pretty well, and I was actually there the night that Greeny made the deal with Hackman on the napkin.
Oh, you were there. So were you? What was your first sponsorship company of size like that?
Well, back in those days, most of us either worked at a surf shop or we worked at a surfboard company shaping surfboards.
Right.
Which is kind of ironic today. I mean, half the guys, when pro surfing really started to happen in the mid-'70s, were riding their own shaped surfboards. Today, there's not one. They have surfboards, what I call like Kleenex in a box. There's like 26 twos, and then break one, they just pull another one out of the box. I mean, in those days, we kept our boards. Hopefully they never broke, and they lasted 2 or 3 winters or years. But so I was there, and then what happened is I became known for pink surfboards. And I didn't even know Alan Green at the time, and this is like 1974. And a box arrives at Steve Corr's house in Cronulla from Alan Green. I open it up, and there's 2 pairs of pink Quicksilvers with black waistbands. And in those days, free trunks, I'll wear those. So I took them to Hawaii, and I got in the final of a really famous surf contest, the first contest that was ever held in 30-foot surf. And I got in the final, and Dan Merkel got an incredible photo that was the center spread of Surfing Magazine. And that kind of, all of a sudden, that was what sponsorship was in those days. And Quicksilver was cool, so you wore them because they were cool, not because you were getting paid. You just got free chunks in the mail.
Right. In the beginning, it would start that you would kind of wear the free stuff, and then maybe later. So when did you get your big deal? When did it start becoming competition?
In my era, there never was a big deal.
Yeah.
Oops.
But, so there was actually a company from San Diego, Gordon & Smith, had started in Australia in the mid-'60s. And I worked for Gordon & Smith as a shaper and designer and ambassador. And they had like 6 surf shops on the south side of Sydney. And we had Thursday night shopping, and I'd go around to the shops on Thursday nights with my little Mini Cooper panel van and be an ambassador and try to sell surfboards. And what started to happen, a few of those companies, one in particular, which McKnight will get a laugh, Golden Breed, and all of a sudden we started to have apparel as well as the T-shirts, and that's what surfing was and the industry was in those days. It was little shops, mainly based on selling surfboards, and a few trunks and T-shirts, and eventually it grew to what it is today, which, you know, as you see, it's $1 billion industry. And I think added to that, you saw the last thing on the screen there, I think we're on the cusp of probably an explosion of surfing and surf culture because the Olympics are coming to Los Angeles. And I actually had to write something the other day about what that might mean. Because really the birthplace of the surf culture we live today was right here in Los Angeles when Gidget's father wrote that book about Gidget in 1957 and exposed these bohemians living on the beach in shacks, and that kind of started all of that. Yeah. And then you had the beach blanket bingos and Grubby Clark making foam blanks, and all of that grew to what we have. So I can guarantee that NBC, which is the Olympic television network, is going to be focused on the fact that surf culture, when we do surfing, was right here in I said it the other day, we're going to see Snoop Dogg surfing. You watch.
Right. Right. It always seems like there has been that kind of that tug and pull, both Bob and PT, between that. I mean, even the magazines, you know, were kind of positioned as the soul of surfing, and then the competition of surfing. So there's that surfing as a, I don't really say a culture because the competition does cross into the culture, but that kind of soul surfing versus competition, and then the brands. With, as it was said in the film, that you have to be an ex-pro or know an ex-pro or really be part of a certain community to work at a brand, and then what makes a brand cool. And then as some brands seem to have fallen apart, and I would argue some of the ones that, quote, fell apart are still doing pretty well in St. Louis and Toledo, Ohio, and things like that, right? Because people want to wear the surf brands, like it says in the film. So there's always that tug and pull between the, you know, the IPO, the Wall Street versus the core brands, and all these new brands coming out, you know, fed by pros who have stepped aside and tried to start their own brands. When we talk about that, you know, you led from, you were sewing and cutting, and you led to a global $1 billion company, but keeping that core, how do you do that?
It takes a lot of effort, but you need to be true to the sport and the culture and the towns and all that, and we've always done a really good job of that. And I've made it pretty clear from day one that we're going to be about, you know, I think behind every great clothing company is a single product. You look at Levi, you look at Izod, you look at other great brands, and they always like have a product they can lean on. For us, it's always been board shorts. It always will be board shorts. We've always kept that in our vision right there. And the early days, even when there was, you know, like not that much of a business, and we're in the middle of winter and it's freezing cold in Europe, we're trying to sell board shorts. And I would tell the reps to start with board shorts. Tell them about that first and foremost, because that gives you authority then to talk about our history, our team riders, our events, our wins, and all that kind of stuff. And then you can talk about the snowboard wear or the skate wear or whatever. But we've always thought that, and it was in the film a little while ago, that, I mean, we went public at a really early time, like 12 years into our existence. We went public because we ran out of dough. We needed dough. We went public to finance the company and to bring good people in and have more team riders and look after the accounts better. And so for the first 10 years of being public, we had these analysts, and again, all you need to know is the first 4 letters of the word analyst to know what they're like. And they would come and just get up, you know, they always thought we were a bunch of drunk, stoned, you know, pot smoking, Spicoli surfers. And I had to, and I came from San Marino, and I wanted to make sure they knew that our numbers were legit, this company's for real, the numbers are right. And so I bent over backwards to make sure when I went on the stage and all that and talked to the analysts and talked to all the shareholders and all that I pounded about how these numbers, what we're doing and how amazing this culture is. And I was the one that came up with that thing that about half the world's population lives at or near the beach and the other half can't wait to get there. Yeah. Because it's a place that everybody loves. And as we go through all these years, this is 50 years for me in Quicksilver. And going through all these years, there's ups and downs and trends come and go, and it gets baggy, it gets skinny, it gets long, it gets short. Board shorts are down to here now. About two years ago, they were as short as can be. It goes all over the place, but there's always going to be that ocean out there in the world, and people love going there. And when you get to the water in the ocean, there's stuff you want to do. It's not surfing, you want to at least go swimming, you want to hang out with your girlfriend, you want to have an umbrella and enjoy the heat and put the sand in your toes and all that stuff. All of us just love the ocean, and I figured this is a global thing. And up until about 3 years ago, I call it, when the Ukraine war started, we had 17 stores in Russia, downtown Moscow. And they thrived. You find these people come in and they just love Gidget and palm trees, and we had VW vans in the stores, and it was amazing. It's that culture, yeah. And people around the world love surf culture. I'm telling you, and it's influenced so many things with language and art and patterns and prints and style, and it's unbelievable what it's influenced. So it's been amazing.
I think added to that, what he's saying is, I think Endless Summer had a whole lot of thing of creating this fantasy of escapism of I want to be a surfer because I don't have to think about anything.
Right, the
next wave that's coming. And I think right now what's happening too is because surfing is in the Olympics, and this will be the third time, that the world is learning about surfing that never knew before. And I'm pretty involved in the development of the wave pool industry, and right now there's 29 pools operating in the world. In countries, they're in those countries, like right now they just opened one in Uruguay. They open it in Uruguay because so they can train their Olympic surfing team. Yeah. So that's happening right now. By this time next year, there'll be 39 pools. Right now, there's another 10 in construction.
That's amazing. So tell us about the 2028, the Olympics are coming here, pretty close, maybe to Trestles. Yeah.
They're right up the street here, mate. And it's going to be a big deal, as I said, for the industry, for the surf culture. It's interesting because if you listen to people who represent their countries in the Olympics, how important it is. And I think the surfers themselves are only just beginning to realize how important that is if you win a gold medal. Like Carly Vast won the gold medal in Tahiti. I was there. And he's a Quicksilver guy, and I know how important he is as to Quicksilver's overall branding. So that whole thing where it started with Jeff Hackman was the face of, in the beginning of the athletes of Quicksilver, hasn't changed. It's still the same.
We had our own Katie Simmers in the Olympics.
Yeah, well, no, Kate and Carly Vast, and then they have another guy who probably will be on the U.S. Olympic team, Griffin Colapinto. I would predict that he's one of the guys that will make it. Right up
the street as well.
And so that formula hasn't changed. You can go through all these interruptions and bankruptcies and acquisitions and do all that shit, but at the end of the day, it's still about riding waves.
Yeah, it's still holding strong. Yeah. I think we have time for maybe a question or two from the audience.
How much of your success do you attribute to luck versus ingenuity and hard work? Like, how would you answer?
It's an interesting question because there's luck. And for us, luck plus timing. We came in Southern California when Australia was hot. And there was just Burwell Britches and Canvas by Caton and things like that around, which are great brands and all that. But we came in with this Australian brand. And because a lot of these traveling surfers go down to Bell's, they get a pair of board shorts like PT got from Alan Green. and they were all custom with their color, and so that then they would go back to wherever they came from, and they were seen in magazines, and center spreads and cover shots and all that. And people could see the board shorts, the big wide waistband, and a little black thing there, and they were different than anything. And they were from Australia, so people couldn't wait to get them here. So all we had to do is show up. I mean, honestly, in the early days, we felt like we were drug dealers, but we didn't have drugs, we had board shorts. They wanted to buy as much as we had. And it was incredible. Like we could have, I mean, anyway, they bought whatever we made, and it was amazing. But so that's timing and a lot of luck, because, I mean, we've made so many mistakes. And the government doesn't send you a pamphlet on how to run a $2.5 billion company, I can tell you that. So you're on your own. And I had my mentors, Walter Hoffman and my father and other people along the way, but we certainly just, you know, I have this other saying, we just made it up as we went along. And whatever felt right, we stayed true to it. We took care of our people, made sure we had good team riders, we took care of the accounts up and down the coast. And all that stuff is, we still do all that. You have to. Because this industry, although it's big now, it really is very small, and we all know each other, and we're all good friends, and we all watch each other. We want to beat the hell out of each other in the marketplace, but internally we're all best friends. We surf together, we have beers together, we hang out and go on trips together, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really fun industry, but whatever happens, it gets woo, 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 around the world in like 10 minutes. Everybody knows what's going on, just like that.
So, quick question, Mr. McKnight in particular. When you were selling it out of the trunk, you probably didn't know the answer to this, but I assume you do now. What drives the change in fashion? You just said the board short, which went from here to here. Do you drive that, or does the market drive? And how do you plan for and know what's coming? Like how do you look down the road?
Well, I think the same answer would come from Bob Hurley or Stussy or, you know, any of the Richard Wolcott, anybody that started these brands and built them and worked them and all that. Of course, we made all the difference because we were so great and our products are fantastic and we led trends and all that kind of stuff. But all of us had our mission of being different. And I think way back then, it was all about the board shorts. So everybody pounded away each other with the best board shorts, and it went from, you know, different prints and different print and different vibes and it's links and all that, and then it went into stretch, and then it went into this and went into that. So I think that all of us have just competed on the floor, and that pushes us to do innovations all over the place with product, from walk shorts to shirts to hoodies to wetsuits to all of it. I mean, we all wanted to be ahead of the gang. We all wanted to kick the other guy's butt. So that it kept us all on our toes and kept it really competitive and for years. And it's still going on with the Rourkes and the Brixtons and all that kind of stuff. Everybody keeps innovating, and that's what keeps the whole thing alive. That's why when I hear about, surfing is going away, nobody likes the beach anymore, I just go like, no, that's not going to happen. As long as we stay true to it. And that's what you have to do. You can't just be a fake and go off and sell Dick's Sporting Goods and forget about everybody else. You have to take care of the surf shops, every single one of them.
And I just want to add to what Bob just said there. Two of the biggest legacy brands in the business are Quicksilver and Billabong, and they both started with one product, trunks. And trunks, board shorts, whatever we want to call them. But the thing is I've always said that if you can't make a good pair of board shorts, you're not in the biz.
Yeah, this question goes out to PT. What was it like being the first world champion, and what was the tour like and the differences from then as today?
First answer is simple: money. Well, you know, like when the tour came together in that 1976, it came together because of a dream of a bunch of us thinking that we wanted to be Formula One racing drivers or tennis players going around the world, score points and become world champ. That was really the motivation behind a bunch of us. And then Fred Hemmings and Randy Rarick decided that they were going to create that. And they didn't even decide to create that till the first year was half over. And they sent out a letter saying, we're going to create the world championship leading into Hawaii. And so we went to Hawaii, and there were 4 events in those days in Hawaii. And I made the final of 3 of them and the semi-finals of the other one, and had the most points, and I won. At the time, this is how funny it is, and many people have read or heard this story. Fred Hemmings announces there's going to be a World Championship presentation, invites me to the Outrigger Canoe Club. And I go to the Outrigger Canoe Club, and he doesn't even have a trophy for me. He goes over to the Outrigger Canoe Club trophy cabinet, where all the rowing ones and all the waterman ones are. Opens the cabinet because he's a member of Outrigger Canoe Club. He takes out one big one, brings it over, and that's the famous photo you see of me and Fred. Turns it round backwards so you can't see the inscription for what it really is for. And that's exactly how the World Championship started, because the next day, that photo was in the Honolulu Advertiser, and that was the beginning of pro surfing.
Amazing. Beautiful. I want to thank you guys. Great story. Thank you so much for being here. We've got more surf films. We're going to take a break here for a little bit and then get into our next blocks. We've got another great set of films. We've got Shaping the Future. Lance Collins is here. We're going to have that Q&A, amazing icon and maverick of the industry. And then towards the end of the evening, we've got a bunch of films with some local filmmakers who will be here as well. So. And then, yes, we're having an after party over at Stone Brewing later tonight. Stone Brewing Brew Gardens, which is right around the corner. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be back in just a little bit.